Okay, so x is in the exponent, but we have two different terms involving x. This is 2 to the x positive, this is 2 to the negative x. So those can't really combine with one another. What we can do is we can make our life a little simpler. Multiply 3 to both sides. Cancels out the 3 on the left side, gives us a 12 on the right. And then look, this is the same thing as 1 over 2 to the x, right? So we can't solve if x is in the denominator. And just a reminder, that was 2 to the negative x. That's the same thing as 1 over 2 to the x. So we can't solve if x is in the denominator, so let's get it out of the denominator by multiplying both sides by 2 to the x. So 2 to the x times 2 to the x makes 2 to the 2x, or 2 to the x squared. And then over here, 2 to the x times 1 over 2 to the x, those cross cancel and leaves us with 1. And you can't say this is 12 times 2 makes 24 to the x, because we need to do exponents first according to the order of operations. So this has to stay right here. Now look, this term has 2 to the x squared. This term has 2 to the x, and this term has no 2 to the x. That's like an x squared, x, no x type of thing. So this is quadratic. And so we're going to make it a little simpler on ourselves by replacing all those 2 to the x's with just a letter. That way we can focus on solving the quadratic equation, and then we can come back and try to figure out what x is supposed to be. So we replace those with u, and we're trying to get u by itself, we're trying to solve for u in a quadratic equation, so let's subtract that 12u from both sides to set it equal to 0, because that's how we solve quadratics. And this one you can't factor, you got to use the quadratic formula. So to solve, I'm going to do negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. And then simplifying, that's 12 plus or minus inside the square root. That's a plus 4, so that should be 148. And then square root of 148. That's 12.17 approximately. And then we need to solve once for plus, once for minus. So let's do this plus 12 divided by 2. That's 12.08 for one of them. And then we need to do 12 minus 12.17 divided by 2. So that's negative 0.085. Okay, now what we solved for was u, though. We applied the quadratic formula to u. We want to use the quadratic formula for and help us solve x. So we got to take these results and plug them back into our substitution. So 12.08 goes in for u here, and then negative 0.085 goes in over here. Okay, so the only way to get x by itself is to use a logarithm to both sides. I'll use natural log. So natural log 12.08. That's 2.49. And then this is natural log 2 to the x, so the x comes down and multiplies. That's the whole point of using a logarithm, is we can use that exponent property. The whole point of using the logarithm is to make this x come down and multiply, and we can only do that inside logarithms. So to finish getting x by itself, we want to divide natural log 2 from both sides. So natural log 2, I want to take that and divide that out of 2.49. So it's 3.59. So that's what x is. We got a solution. Over here, if you try to do the natural log of both sides, though, you're going to get no solution because this is not possible. You can't raise e to a power to make it equal negative instead of positive. So this one has no solution. So we only got one answer, 3.59.